Welcome to the show, everyone. As you know, I tell everybody to talk to everyone within 3 feet of you about what you do, and that's exactly right here on the radio to all of you that are listening. I'm going in right away with my first guest, who I can't wait to bring on. I love her. I have with me Sandy Greenlee, and she's the owner of Angels Cremation and Burial. Welcome back to the show. I want you to tell everybody first a little bit about you, how long you've been doing what you do, and today I want to kind of go over about certain things of what people should do when bad things happen. So first, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I have been in the funeral industry for over 20 years. I've owned my own mortuary for over 15. I'm all about education, education, education. You know, God provides my living. He takes really good care of me. I love him a lot. And that's probably what the most important thing to me is. God is a part of my life. I'm a real person. I can cry with anybody. I can smile with anybody. I can laugh with anybody. And I probably can get angry with anybody too.
But I want to talk about your funeral home. And I want to talk about your services a little bit, your website, and how, real before we go into some of the things, because you said you like to do it my way, so I'm going to do it my way real quickly. Oh, that's okay. And I want to talk a little bit about, you know, how you've made it for where you are. You're all about affordability and having people understand what they're getting into, the cost of what it could be, or what it could also not be.
Well, and our website, I've so many people say your website is so educational. And it's because I want people to be educated. People don't want to call and sound like they don't know anything. People want to be educated. They want to know what they want to know. And yet they don't know everything. And so my website was designed specifically for somebody who knows nothing. And because I got kind of thrown into the funeral industry on the opposite side of the table than I am now, and I had people say things to me that I felt were so rude, like, are you really going to bury him in that cheap casket? Oh, you're going to use a homemade casket. Well, what will people think if you don't have roses on the casket? Well, I really didn't care because my mother had roses beside her bed every day before she died. But people can be so negative in a positive way. And so, I mean, my husband and I, between family and friends, we lost 15 family and friends in just a little over 5 years. And I was a part of every one of those arrangements. And it was devastating to me. It was overwhelming to me, especially when I was doing my own loved ones and I didn't have money. And everybody was saying, but this will make you feel better. Well, this will make you feel better. Well, this will help you out. Well, you should do this. Well, this would be a better idea. Or I would ask a question like, can I take my son home because we couldn't afford transportation? Well, that's probably not a good idea. That's not the question I asked. Can I take my son home? Well, that's probably not the best idea, taking him that 1,200 miles. I said, excuse me, my question was, can I legally take my son home? Well, of course you can. Why didn't you just answer my question the first time?
They don't know Sandy. Here's the thing that I love about your website, too. There's great information there. You also made it easy for everybody to understand. I mean, sometimes we look at stuff and it gets so much and it gets too much for people, right? I love your website. Check it out. It is Angels with an S, Cremation and burial.com. We're talking about pre-planning here. We're also going to be talking a little bit about what to do when this all starts to happen. And I'm going to get that out in a second. The phone number is 480-962-6435, which is 96 Angel. Now I want to go back. We're live on Facebook to everybody. Hi out there. Like us and follow us. I know this is kind of a strange conversation to be having on a radio show, but it's probably one of the most important things that people should be. Everything on this show, what I love about the show the most is about the information that people get here and you being able to come on and educate people out there. So before we came on and we talked the other day about how we want to talk, really want to get people to understand. A lot of people do not know what to do when, God forbid, let's say you walk into a room, even though you knew this person was going to pass away maybe soon or whatever, or God forbid they had a heart attack in the middle of the night, right? And they find them dead. What do?
Well, if you absolutely know they're dead, you call the non-emergency police number for that particular city. They're listed in the telephone book, they're listed on the internet, but you call the non-emergency number. If they're alive and you're not sure for positive, they're not cold, there may possibly be a pulse then, you would call 911. But 911 cannot do anything for you if they're already gone. Now, if you have hospice because they've been sick, you would automatically call hospice. Most of our hospice families are educated by hospice to call them. Some of them panic and they call 911 or they call us. Unfortunately, we're not allowed to pick up a loved one without a chain of command. We have paperwork, a paper trail we have to follow. And so we always have to be contacted by somebody who has authority. And so if you find somebody deceased and they're on hospice, call hospice. If you find somebody deceased, call the non-emergency phone number. And then they will take it from there.
Well, let me ask you this. So someone passes away in the hospital. They think that they're going to just take care of it. Is that correct?
No, the hospital is going to ask you, where do you want us to send your loved one? And if you don't know, say, give me some time, let me check it out. Everybody seems to think that every mortuary everywhere is the same price, same service, same situation, same circumstances. Unfortunately, we get a lot of calls from people that say, we had our loved one sent to the mortuary just right down the block or around the street, or the hospital recommended this one. And it's like way, way more than yours. What do I do now? And so just to let them know, you need a little bit of time for education. Most hospitals have a morgue. There are a few that do not, and they're going to encourage you to have the loved one removed very quickly. And they can suggest to you where to go. They cannot tell you where to go. And you can say, I need some time. Call friends. Ask, hey, I need a favor. I need you to help me call mortuaries. I need to know what they're going to charge me. I need to know what their regulations are. I need to know what their rules are. I need to know how quickly they can come. We all have a set of friends, and they would love to serve, but sometimes they don't even know what to do to help you. And so ask. Open your mouth. Say, would you help me call some mortuaries to see what their pricing is, especially if you're on a limited budget.
What I want to talk about there is a second is going back to what I said before, pre-planning. Here's the thing that we need to do that we don't do.
Amen.
Is not when no one is pre-planning. So, I know this sounds like a weird thing to do, but maybe some people should sit down, and you have always said people don't talk about that here in this country for some reason, but maybe sitting down and talking with your loved ones and saying, this is what we're going to do, is we're going to talk about, we have a plan if there's a fire, maybe we should plan, I'm getting older, let's just sit down and be real about this and talk.
That's true, because even people come without a power of attorney, and they end up in the hospital, and who is the legal next of kin, and who's going to make answers for them? The best thing you can do is open your mouth and ask questions. In America, we believe it's going to happen to somebody else tomorrow, but it's going to happen to us someday, and someday maybe sooner than we'd like. And so it's so very, very important. If you don't want to make pre-arrangements, at least ask questions. Do you want to be cremated? Do you want to be buried? Do you want a science donation? Do you want your body just donated and not know anything about it?
But
is
I
it a
love
big
about
secret?
you too is that you are so right down to the truth when you sit down with somebody and they talk to you. You'll even say things like, listen, they want to have this spot, and you obviously give them always the choice.
Yes.
Always the choice, but you'll say to them right then and there, do you really want to look at that $5,000 casket for 30 minutes? It's going in the ground after that. Give them a call. Their phone number is 480-962-6435. It's Angels Cremation and Burial.com. Hang tight. We'll be back in just a minute. You liking it?
I do.
Okay.
I like everything you do, Carol.
Well, thank
You've
you.
never done anything I don't like.
We're going to continue talking because we are live on Facebook here, so we're going to just keep on talking right now. All trees are the same, and I want to come back and talk about that if that's okay with you, because I want to talk about what you mean by that, okay? And that's when you might want to talk about pricing and this and that or whatever. Do they come to you? Do they call you? What you have here, does a family call? Do they come to you? No, they don't first come to you. Or do they call you first? For if something happens, like let's say they find somebody dead.
No, they have to call the non-emergency police.
Right.
They have to call hospice. They have to have the hospice call us, the hospital call us. No, we are not allowed to go pick anybody
Even
up.
if somebody is pre-planned, do
That's
they?
correct. They
So
still,
it doesn't matter.
Still a chain
because
of
what
command.
what would happen if, for example, my husband, I decided I was sick and tired of putting up with him, and I know he's sick, so I'm going to put a pillow over his head and suffocate him. And then I can kill him and not ever be known. So there has to be a chain of command. And please
Right.
don't put that on the radio.
No, but I'm saying, I understand. So what
Yeah,
I'm saying
so
is
there's always a chain of command.
So no matter what, there's always a
Yes,
chain
we have to
of
be
command.
called by the police officer, we have to be called by the hospice nurse, we have to be called by the social worker at the nursing home, we have to be called by whoever it is
Right,
at the
so no
hospital
matter
that
what,
does it.
the first real call is to the non-emergency or to hospice.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And in terms of this, when you say that not all the same, what makes yours so different?
We're smaller. We all work really hard. You might have to be interrupted during a session, during the arrangements, because somebody's got an emergency. You may have to wait 15 minutes for a room to be available, even though you made an appointment at 2. That happens very rarely, but there's times when you have to wait because the family before you was late or they asked more questions than we planned. We do our very, very best to make sure that we are there when the people arrive. We keep our appointed times, but unfortunately things happen.
Right, this is a different
And
type
so
of a
you would
business.
never have that in the bigger mortuaries because they have 5 arrangement rooms and 5 funeral directors that are just sitting around to wait on you. We don't have that. Everybody in our office works.
Right.
If they don't work, then they go home.
But I want to say this being like it's a boutique. We have boutique firms, like law firms. It's a boutique mortuary where you're there servicing your families. It's not like a droves of just getting you in and moving
Yes.
moving
That's
along.
right.
It's quite different. I want to talk about that. Welcome back, everyone. We're talking with Sandy Greenlee, and she's the owner of Angels Cremation and Burial. And we're learning things. I've been learning a lot, today about what to do. I'm calling 911 because I'm nervous with Lechke, right? And but no, you said not to do that. It is the non-emergency. No matter what, I even asked you at the break. Even if somebody has pre-planned, there are certain steps that have to be taken, no matter what.
Right, we have to have a chain of command. We have to have paperwork. We have to be able to go back. Because if there's ever any question, there's ever any doubt, there has to be proof of responsibility.
Right. And I also asked you, before we came back on the break, we were talking about what makes you different. And I called you a boutique mortuary, and, you are quite different. Let's explain that.
Well, all for a living. Thousands of people a year. We service over 1,000 people every year. But every family is individual. You have a loved one there, and we treat that loved one just like it's our own mother, father, brother, or sister. And so if you come in 5 minutes late, we're not going to say shame on you. And yet, if you have to wait for us for 10 minutes, it's probably because we were waiting on somebody else. Because we're not a large mortuary. We don't have people just sitting around waiting to wait on you.
Right. It's not like getting the cow in, getting it done, and moving on. It's a little different when you
Right.
have someone like you that's working with both. I love that you care so much about each one of your families. Earlier, you were talking about somebody yesterday. You were crying with the family for a loss that they had.
Oh, I can cry with anybody. I can laugh with anybody. I can sympathize with anybody. Because my philosophy is, and I tell my employees this all the time, if you cannot treat every loved one and every family that walks in our mortuary as if it's your own mother, your own brother, your own father, your own sister, you're at the wrong location. Because we really do care. We spend a lot of extra time making sure that everybody is taken care of to the abilities that they want. Granted, most of our cases are direct cremation, which means we don't have a lot of service time. But if that family needs some extra attention, they need some extra time, we're there. We answer our phones 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We do not have an answering service.
Well, we did
If you
talk
get
about that, how this is going to happen no matter what. It's not if it's going to.
Well, and not only that, people, are you answering he's going to leave a message. Well, unfortunately, people don't die just between 8 and 5 or 9 and 6. They pass away 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And when I was losing loved ones, the last thing I wanted to do was hear somebody say, I'll have the funeral director call you back within the hour. Or, I'll have the funeral director call you back as quickly as I can get a hold of you. No, I want to talk to somebody now. I just lost my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, my child. I want attention. I'm important. I'm special. And I want attention now. I don't want to wait.
Now, the phone number to call, it's 480-962-6435, which is 96 Angel. The website is Angels Cremation and Burial.com. Go on there. I know you all think that, it's kind of a weird kind of thing to talk. We talked about it earlier, but it is so important. And again, we're going to talk a little bit about pre-planning here, that you need to know what to do. But go up on her website. There's so much information there that it'll give you of what to do before, what to do after, what to do during. All of that stuff is up there that you can learn about it. And you should all know about it. Don't just say like, I don't want to do it. Don't put your heads in the sand with this. It's not a good idea. I want to talk about what they need to know before somebody is passed away.
You need to know what they want to have done. Do they want to be cremated? Do they want to be buried? Do they have finances to bury? Do they want to be shipped back to Chicago or New York or wherever they came from? One of the greatest peace I have is knowing what people want. And not knowing what people want is stressful. And if you know you want a cremation, do you want a service with the cremation? Do you want a memorial service with the cremation? Do you just want a cremation? I mean, my own mother did not want anybody to see her. But I had to see her. That was part of the plan. She didn't want a service. Well, after we said, so everybody else, when you go to a funeral, they're important enough for you to support them, but your own kids are not great enough to be supported? Thanks, Mom. We love you too. So my mom decided she would have a service. She decided to be buried for my daughter's sake because my daughter doesn't believe in cremation. And so my mom was buried because of that. So when the bottom line came, when it was time for my mom to check out to go to heaven, everybody knew what was expected. Everybody knew what was going to happen. Everybody had been able to put in their 2 cents. We'd all negotiated. I am telling you, it is the easiest death of all of my family members I have ever been through, because all the I's were dotted and all the T's were crossed, and she's the last loved one I've lost too, by the way.
I will
so
say
out of the
this,
15, I learned a lot.
If anyone could listen to what Sandy is saying here, which is, please get prepared. Be prepared, because you know what, you never know when this is going to happen, and you said, it makes your life easier, Sandy's life, but it makes the family's life easier. It's not you're dead, you're gone, but the family that's left over, it really does make it so much easier. What do families, or what are they responsible for after then, someone has passed away?
Well, you're responsible for taking care of the loved one. And for example, if you're going to do a cremation and you have a brother that's estranged from Mom and you're the only sibling, you can't decide to cremate without him unless you wait for 15 days, post an obituary, unless Mom had something signed and notarized before she passed away. Lawyers are wonderful. I'm not condemning them or judging them, but I cannot tell you how many people walk in my mortuary and say, I have this trust, it's 300 pages long, and there's nothing in it about cremation or burial or science donation or whatever else. And in the state of Arizona, and probably in most states, we have to have the majority of the signatures of the next of kin. So if there's 2 kids and one of them can't be found, guess what? Their loved one's hanging out in the cooler until we can either figure out what to do. You decide to bury instead of cremate. You wait the 15 days for the obituary to be posted. It would be so nice if you knew in advance, and I tell people this all the time. I wish I could stand on the rooftops and say, if you want to be cremated, sign your own and have it notarized. Because it is devastating to families when I look at them and say, yes, I'm sorry, your loved one's going to be hanging out in my cooler with me for the next 15 days. I don't want it in the cold. I don't want him to freeze. I don't want him there. Well, I don't want to break the law. And the law says if there's not the legal next of kin to sign, you have to wait for 15 days and post an obituary. And so it's really sad. So if you want to be cremated, get out a piece of paper, take it to the notary and get it notarized. You want to be cremated. There, I mean, every mortuary's got their own forms. There's actually the Attorney General's website is phenomenal. They have a support if you don't want to be on life support, if you want to be science donation, whatever you want. It's free. It's on the Attorney General's website. It's called Power of Attorney. It's like 4 pages long. Take it, bring it to my mortuary. If nobody else will notarize it for free and you don't notarize, I'll do it for free. The point is just let people know. We don't like to talk about things in America because we think it's going to happen to somebody else tomorrow. But you know what? Someday it's going to be you. And I can tell you, when I had 15 and a little over 5 years, my family. Here, I want to know something.
The number to call, 480-962-6435. Make an appointment, sit down and talk to them and let them help you through this process. Be prepared. It's 480-96-ANGEL, which that's the number, at 480-962-6435. Angels Cremation and Burial.com. Now, real quickly before
Carol,
we go,
let me say one thing. If you don't want to talk to me, at least go to the Attorney General's website, get the paperwork, email, fill it out, and then when it happens to you, when you're not ready for it, you'll be prepared.
Right, and I love that you're just saying anyone, just please make sure you do it. Real quickly, where should someone put their will? And I don't think anyone has ever asked me ever, and we never talked about where should they put the will so it's safe.
Well, definitely not in the safety deposit box at the bank, because you can't get that until you get a death certificate, and you need the will to figure out if they want to be cremated or buried. I don't know where you want to put yours. I have a safe I keep mine in. And I have the safe combination where my children do not know where it is at, but they've got enough clues that they'll figure it out. Because I don't want them to have I don't want to have all of my passwords and everything available to all my kids. And I have trustworthy kids. Put it where the kids can either figure out where it is, or where they know where it is, or how to get to it. Because a safety deposit box is not your favorite friend when you pass away.
Real quickly, can someone write their signature and date on something, or should it have that? Or what about notarization?
Notarized. Anybody can forge your signature, especially now with all the technology we have.
I'm telling you now,
have it notarized.
My father, who hand typed out a letter to everybody, it was worthless because it wasn't notarized. And you know what? It was really hard on our family. I love you. I love the way that you are. You're so real. And you want people to do what's right, is get prepared and get it notarized.
Amen.
The number is 480-962-6435. It's Angels Cremation and Burial.com.